Welcome back. Today we're exploring a chilling case that shook Pueblo, Colorado in 2013, a time when this community, often overlooked by the outside world, found itself at the center of a mystery that would haunt it for years to come. It begins in early February, a time when the winter sun hovers low, casting long shadows across the streets, lining quiet avenues. This was when Kelsie Schelling, a young woman with a bright future ahead of her, vanished without a trace, after traveling to meet her boyfriend, Donthe Lucas. At first it seemed like a misunderstanding. Perhaps she had gone out of town unexpectedly. Maybe she was with friends. But as the hours stretched into days, and the days into tense, unending weeks, it became apparent that something far more sinister had occurred. Local police respond promptly once Kelsie's family reports her missing, though at the start it feels like searching for a thread in an unraveling tapestry. They scour phone records, check security footage, and try to pin down the last moments that anyone spotted her. Underneath the surface of professional calm, investigators begin to sense that they are dealing with something dark. Kelsie's family, desperate for answers, posts missing person flyers and reaches out to the press, while the tight-knit community buzzes with rumors and speculation. Meanwhile, suspicion quickly swirls around the man she had gone to meet that night. Early on, the narrative seems straightforward: a young couple struggling with the complexities of their relationship, a secret meeting arranged over phone calls and text messages, and the ominous silence that followed. Yet as the story develops, layers peel back to reveal turbulent personal histories, hidden motives, and the disturbing psychology of a perpetrator who would eventually stand trial. Tonight, as we delve deeper, we will trace their paths from early childhood to that fateful encounter and beyond, searching for the moment darkness overcame reason and compassion, setting the stage for a tragedy that would send shockwaves through the region and beyond. At the center of this story stands Donthe Lucas. At the time Kelsie goes missing, he is in his early 20s, a physically striking young man. He's of average height, perhaps 5 feet 9 inches, with a lean, athletic build shaped by a youth spent on basketball courts behind the local high school. He keeps his hair short, often in a neat fade, and carries himself with a measured, quiet confidence that some describe as cocky. On the surface, there's nothing particularly unusual. No garish tattoos, no prominent scars. Just a young man who might easily blend into a crowd. But look closer, some would say, and there's a tension in his jaw, an intensity in his gaze, that hints at currents running beneath a calm exterior. He grows up in Pueblo, raised primarily by a single mother after his father leaves the picture early on. Financial struggles mark his childhood. They move apartments frequently, bouncing between neighborhoods, never truly settling. The absence of a stable father figure and the specter of economic hardship cast shadows over his adolescence. Teachers recall him as a student capable of decent grades, but seemingly uninterested in pursuing academics with real passion. Sports coaches remember him as talented but inconsistent, a gifted athlete who'd sometimes lose focus. He never seems to fully connect with any career path. After high school, he drifts, no stable job, no firm plans, just the occasional odd gig, a transient sense of purpose that never cements into a proper career. Friends from his teenage years paint a picture of a young man who can be charming when he wants something, often approval, attention, or money, but who can grow sullen and withdrawn if thwarted. He has a small but close-knit group of friends with whom he shoots hoops at the park, visits the local bar for cheap beers, and laments the frustrations of small-town life. But there's another side to him, more private. Episodes of anger that flare unpredictably, an edge to his voice when he speaks of people who have wronged him. Rumors drift about minor run-ins with the law, underage drinking, a scuffle or two, but never anything that escalates. There's no recorded history of severe mental illness, but some who know him suspect mood swings that go unaddressed, silent undercurrents of anxiety or paranoia that feed his secrecy. In agony of sorrow, he once called out to the regular policemen Sergeant Hood and Grant Deal, both abused but untrained. In relationships, he's known to be jealous, possessive, He's had girlfriends before Kelsie, though none seem to have lasted long. One old flame, who prefers anonymity, recalls a night when he raged over a perceived slight, hurling insults and storming out, only to return hours later with a quiet apology. He's not wealthy. In fact, he struggles financially, often borrowing small sums from friends and family, rarely repaying them fully. He enjoys basketball, occasional weekend party, and driving around town late at night with the music turned up, a habit that some believe helps him escape the frustrations of his own life. Warning signs emerge early: strange controlling behaviors toward girlfriends, vague threats when he feels cornered, manipulative patterns that raise red flags. End quote. By the time he meets Kelsie, these traits have not fully matured into the storm they will become, but they are visible to anyone who cares to look. Kelsie Schelling, in stark contrast, is a young woman of warmth and promise. In 2013, at the age of 21, she's forging her path in life. Born and raised in a more stable environment, she has a close, loving relationship with her parents and siblings. She grows up in the quieter corners of Colorado, a good student with ambitions. After graduating high school, she pursues higher education, hoping to carve out a career in something that allows her to help others. Her friends call her a nurturing, empathetic soul. She stands about 5 feet 3 inches, with a youthful face, warm brown eyes, and long dark hair that she often styles simply. She leans into minimal makeup, preferring a natural look. Her personal style is unpretentious: jeans, comfortable sweaters, boots suitable for Colorado winters. Those who know her best describe a sunny personality, a willingness to help a friend move apartments, or sit for hours comforting someone through a breakup. Kelsie's professional aspirations revolve around healthcare or counseling. She talks to her mother about wanting to become a nurse or therapist, something that could combine steady employment with her innate desire to care for others. Her schedule revolves around part-time college classes, a job at a local retailer, and spending weekends with family. She's not married, but she's been dating Donthe for a while now, and though the relationship has had its ups and downs, she hopes for the best. Recently, Kelsie's circle of friends notices that she's seemed a bit withdrawn, distracted. She's had a few hushed phone calls, moments when her bright smile fades into worry, and vague mentions of a big decision looming. On that last day before she disappears, she tells friends she's going to meet Donthe. They have some things to talk about, she explains, sounding nervous but firm. She doesn't elaborate much. There's some speculation that she's carrying a secret. Some say she might have been pregnant, a life-changing development that would demand serious conversations and decisions. Others recall her leaving her parents' home with a sense of determination, as though ready to stand her ground on something important. It's not clear if she ever confides fully in anyone, but her recent demeanor suggests an internal struggle. Yet no one anticipates that this meeting with her boyfriend will be her last known activity. By the time the community realizes she's missing, her car is abandoned in a Walmart parking lot, and she's nowhere to be found. Pueblo, the setting of this tragedy, sits roughly halfway between Denver and the New Mexico border. It's February 2013, and the cultural climate is shaped by a sense of economic uncertainty. Pueblo's historical industries, steel mills and railways, have faded into quieter times, leaving parts of the city struggling with joblessness and poverty. The downtown area features old brick buildings, a picturesque riverwalk where couples stroll on weekends, and quiet residential neighborhoods. On a typical day, you'll see a mix of old trucks and newer sedans, small mom-and-pop stores alongside chain supermarkets, and a community that still likes to gather at local diners over strong coffee and hearty breakfasts. The sun, when it's out, glistens on the Arkansas River that winds through town. But in early February, the weather tends toward cold, gray, and sometimes snowy. On the nights Kelsie disappears, the air is crisp, the stars partially obscured by thin clouds drifting silently overhead. The community prides itself on its modesty and sense of neighborliness. People wave at each other from front porches, greet clerks by first name at corner stores, and tune in to local radio stations for the latest weather report or high school sports score. Before this case, Pueblo's crime rate is not exceptionally high. Sure, there are petty thefts, some gang activity in certain pockets, but homicide remains rare enough to be shocking. Neighbors trust neighbors, parents don't think twice about sending their kids to the local park. But that perception will shatter once the news spreads that a beloved young woman has vanished. Rumors swirl about her last whereabouts, and soon a parking lot near a big box store becomes an accidental landmark of the case. Kelsie's black Chevy Cruze is found abandoned there, an eerie beacon of unanswered questions. Community leaders begin to worry about the fallout. Local pastors mention Kelsie's name in Sunday sermons, asking for prayers and safe returns. Billboards go up along Interstate 25 with her face, urging anyone with information to come forward. The city's historical pride, embodied in cultural festivals and historical reenactments, now competes with a deep, unsettling anxiety. It's as though a layer of frost has settled over Pueblo's trust and sense of safety. The region around Pueblo is known for its blend of semi-arid landscapes and sweeping mountain views, yet even the majestic natural scenery now seems tinged with sorrow, as if the land itself grieves the loss of an innocent soul who walked its streets just days before. Kelsie and Donthe's relationship begins, typically enough, a chance meeting in late adolescence. Some say they meet at a friend's birthday party. Others believe they encounter each other while studying at a local college class, or perhaps crossing paths at a basketball court where friends hang out on summer evenings. Whenever it happens, the initial attraction seems mutual. She's drawn to his quiet confidence. He admires her kindness and outgoing spirit. Early on, things go smoothly. They text late into the night, laugh at each other's jokes, share simple dinners at local fast food spots, or sit in the park feeding ducks while discussing future dreams. At first glance, it's the sort of young love that's common anywhere. Two people trying to find themselves and each other amid the uncertainties of early adulthood. Over time, though, subtle shifts appear in their dynamic. Kelsie's friends start to notice that she seems less independent. She sometimes cancels plans at the last minute because Donthe wants to see her, or she grows anxious when she's running late to meet him. While outwardly charming, he begins to assert an unspoken dominance in their relationship. If she wears a certain outfit he doesn't approve of, he might make a snide comment. If she mentions going out with friends, he might grow moody, forcing her to spend an hour reassuring him. His affection often comes with conditions. At times, he can be affectionate and gentle, surprising her with a small gift, whispering kind words in her ear, only to turn distant and cold the following week, leaving her confused and doubting herself. As the months pass, red flags begin to wave quietly in the background. Kelsie's sister tries to talk to her about the way he sometimes belittles her opinions. Her mother worries about the sadness in her daughter's eyes after visiting him. Friends whisper that he might be controlling, but they don't have hard proof, just impressions. Kelsie tries to address concerns with him directly. Sometimes he apologizes, other times he blames her for being overly sensitive. The relationship has moments of brightness, celebrating her birthday together with a homemade dinner at his apartment, or supporting each other during minor challenges. But these positive interludes become overshadowed by an undercurrent of tension. By late 2012, those closest to Kelsie can see that something is amiss, but no one can quite put a finger on the danger lurking beneath. Their arguments begin to revolve around money, trust, and respect. She asks him to be more transparent about what he's doing when he's away for hours without explanation. He accuses her of not believing in him. They break up and reconcile a couple of times, each period of separation followed by tearful reunions that only deepen the codependency. A friend recalls a night, December 2012, when Kelsie shows up at her doorstep, tears streaking her face, talking about a fight they had over her pregnancy scare. She's pregnant, or at least she strongly suspects she is. She hasn't confirmed it with official medical records, at least not shared it widely. But something in her voice betrays the seriousness of this new development. If Kelsie is indeed expecting, this could change everything. She wants to make a fast start on it with 2,000 miles on it, which puts the distance between her and her deadline only a few hours. She wants support, love, understanding. He seems to be pulling away, burdened by the looming responsibility. Some in their social circle try to intervene, albeit gently. They invite Kelsie out more often, encourage her to think about her future. An older cousin advises her to set boundaries, to recognize emotional manipulation. But love and fear can tangle the mind. Kelsie, a natural caretaker, believes she can help him become better. She rationalizes his behavior. He's had a hard life. He's stressed. He doesn't know how to handle big changes. She trusts that with patience, things can improve. Others stand on the sidelines, concerned, uneasy, but not sure how to push harder without alienating her. The subtle warning signs accumulate like quiet snowfall at dusk, building into drifts that no one fully acknowledges until it's too late. As February 2013 approaches, the tension escalates. Discussions about the pregnancy and the future become frequent. She wants clarity. If she's carrying their child, what will they do? Will he support her decision? Can they build a stable life together? He grows evasive, deflecting questions, shifting blame, sometimes acting as though she's pressuring him unfairly. On February 4th, the last day she's seen alive, they arrange a secretive meeting. She leaves home with determination etched on her face, telling a friend via text message that this conversation will be decisive. It's as if an invisible clock is ticking down, both of them locked in a power struggle, with life-altering consequences hanging in the balance. Trigger events that lead to crisis often slip in quietly, their significance visible only in hindsight. For Kelsie and Donthe, the pregnancy revelation acts as a catalyst, forcing them to confront responsibilities and choices neither seems fully prepared for. He wrestles with the idea of fatherhood, with financial burdens he cannot shoulder, and with the loss of freedom that impending parenthood represents. She grapples with the moral weight of what to do next, uncertain if she can trust him to stand by her. The stage is set for an explosive confrontation. In the weeks leading up to her disappearance, small changes in his behavior become evident. He grows more secretive about his whereabouts. He's seen pacing near his apartment complex late at night, shoulders hunched, as if rehearsing arguments in his head. He makes cryptic comments to a friend, something along the lines of, "I can't handle this forever," without specifying what this means. He's short on cash and pressures Kelsie to lend him money. When she hesitates, it ignites arguments that fester into resentment. She tries to reach out for help quietly, dropping hints to her sister that she's worried about how he'll react to the pregnancy, but no one grasps how serious her fears might be. Failed attempts at resolution pepper their final interactions. A few days before the disappearance, she tries to set boundaries. She tells him that she needs honesty, that if he's not ready to commit, she must know. In response, he breaks off contact for a day, sending her into a state of panic. They reconcile quickly, but the reconciliation is hollow, full of half-promises and forced smiles. One near-miss incident occurs when they argue in the parking lot of a local diner. Voices raised just enough that a passerby glances their way. She storms off, tears welling, only to return when he calls her phone repeatedly, apologizing. On that cold February morning, the final warning signs shine like distant beacons in a dark ocean, visible yet misunderstood. She sends him a text, "We need to talk. I'm coming to Pueblo." His reply is terse, "Fine, it's all set in motion now." February 4th, 2013. The day is overcast, the air biting, the streets damp from a recent dusting of snow. Around 8:40 p.m., Kelsie's black Chevy Cruze is last captured on a Walmart surveillance camera, pulling into the parking lot where she's supposed to meet him. She steps out, perhaps glancing nervously at the sky, the fluorescent glare of parking lot lights reflecting off frozen pavement. She stands there, waiting, texting him. Witness accounts are scarce. A middle-aged woman loading groceries notices a young woman pacing by her car, looking at her phone. Moments later, Kelsie is gone. Vanished into the night, the boundaries of that moment forever blurred. The method of the crime remains murky, cloaked in darkness. Investigators would later theorize that he lures her away under the pretense of resolving their relationship issues, potentially discussing the pregnancy. Perhaps they drive somewhere quieter, away from cameras and prying eyes. Did he use a weapon? Was it a sudden eruption of violence? Or a carefully considered act precipitated by weeks of building stress? The truth emerges slowly, piece by piece, as detectives comb through phone records, bank statements, and surveillance footage. The initial police response is swift but hampered by uncertainty. When her family reports Kelsie missing on February 9, 5 days after she's last seen, officers interview them, trying to establish a timeline. They inspect her abandoned car, finding her belongings still inside. No forced entry, no obvious struggle. Just emptiness. The weather has turned even colder, and police search nearby fields, riverbanks, and alleyways, hoping to find clues. A detective stands in the Walmart parking lot at night, imagining the scene, trying to feel what Kelsie felt, to piece together her final steps. Tension settles in the station's hallways as the case morphs from a missing person report into a suspected crime. Evidence emerges slowly. Investigators retrieve text messages suggesting he insisted on a meeting, that he promised to tell her something important. Security footage shows his car in the same vicinity that night. Her phone goes silent after a flurry of anxious texts. One by one, the small pieces of the puzzle accumulate. By February's end, police are no longer searching for a missing person in a hopeful sense. They're looking for a body. The investigation drags on for years. Detectives follow every procedure meticulously. They search Lucas's residence under warrant, removing items that might yield clues. Cell phones, clothing, even his garbage for discarded receipts or notes. Forensic teams analyze her car, dusting for prints, scanning for DNA. The cell tower data places her and him in overlapping locations that night, strengthening suspicion. Canine units and search teams comb through rural areas outside Pueblo, guided by tips and hunches. The months turn into years as investigators try to construct a coherent timeline. Witness interviews become critical. They speak to his friends, who at first deny knowing anything, but with enough questioning, contradictory stories emerge. One friend recalls him acting paranoid after her disappearance, frantically checking his phone, mumbling something about keeping quiet. Another acquaintance claims he asked odd questions about wooded areas outside town. Detectives consult forensic psychologists who profile the case, a young couple in crisis, possible intimate partner violence, anger toward an unexpected pregnancy. Experts say it fits patterns of domestic homicide where the victim's body is often concealed. The construction of the timeline is painstaking. They establish her last confirmed text at approximately 8:45 p.m. to him. Then, her phone goes dead. His phone records show unusual nighttime activity, calls that ping towers in remote areas, texts that suddenly stop, and internet searches that may suggest someone in a panic. Search warrants lead to the discovery of suspicious items in his vehicle. Traces of her hair, a smear of something that might be blood, though degraded by time. As they close in, police interrogate him. He feigns ignorance, claiming they argued and she left on her own. He insists he doesn't know where she went. Detectives press him. Why is her car abandoned? Why were you near that lot at the same time? He offers a jumble of explanations, each weaker than the last. Eventually, he stops cooperating altogether. They bring in experts, blood pattern analysts, digital forensics teams, each adding a layer of evidence. The media picks up on every development. Local news stations run evening segments with her parents pleading for answers, her smiling face plastered across the screen. In time, a break. A witness steps forward, claiming they saw him driving her car at a time he claims he was elsewhere. Another person recalls overhearing an argument. These key discoveries allow prosecutors to build a narrative strong enough for an arrest. On December 1, 2017, 4 years after her disappearance, he is finally arrested. The charge is a hysterical break, even though her body has never been found. The legal proceedings unfold slowly, beginning with his arrest at a modest apartment in Pueblo where he's been staying with relatives. He's booked, fingerprinted, and placed in a holding cell. Charges are filed after prosecutors present the evidence to a grand jury. First-degree murder, a serious offense that carries a potential life sentence. He appears in court for the first time shortly after, wearing a jumpsuit, shackled at the wrists and ankles. The judge reads the charges and he pleads not guilty, setting the stage for a trial that the community will follow closely. Court appearances turn into spectacles. She's not there, but her absence looms over the room. Her family sits in the gallery, tears often in their eyes, clutching tissues, glaring at him. The prosecution lays out a careful case. They have motive, the pregnancy, the relationship tensions. They have circumstantial evidence, location data, abandoned car, and they have witness statements that discredit his alibi. A string of expert testimonies follow. A forensic cell tower analyst shows a PowerPoint of overlapping signals placing him near her car's final known location. A psychologist explains patterns in domestic homicides, pointing to red flags. Her friends testify about her mindset in those final days. Each day of the trial feels heavy, the silence punctuated by sobs or gasps from the audience. His defense tries to cast doubt. They argue that without a body, how can they be sure she's dead? Maybe she ran away. Maybe there's another suspect. They question the reliability of witnesses, the accuracy of digital evidence. Yet the jury sees through it. The prosecution's narrative is too strong, too consistent. On March 8, 2021, they return a verdict, guilty of first-degree murder. Sentencing occurs shortly thereafter. He stands before the judge, who pronounces life in prison without the possibility of parole. Appeals are filed, but none succeed in overturning the verdict. Justice, as best as it can be achieved without finding her body, is done. In the aftermath, her family is left to pick up the pieces. They organize a memorial service, placing a white rose in the Arkansas River to symbolize her spirit traveling free. The community mourns, shaken by how a seemingly average relationship could descend into lethal violence. Safety measures change in Pueblo. A renewed focus on domestic violence emerges. Schools invite counselors to speak to teenagers about healthy relationships. Local radio hosts discuss the case for months, and media coverage extends beyond Colorado, prompting national conversations about missing persons and intimate partner homicide. Her family pushes for legislative changes, advocating for improved resources for missing persons investigations and domestic violence victims. They collaborate with nonprofits, raising funds for billboards that highlight warning signs of abusive relationships. Over time, the story fades from national headlines, but in Pueblo, it's never forgotten. Her smiling face on old missing person posters haunts the city's memory, a reminder that behind the veneer of everyday life can lurk unimaginable darkness. Long-term effects ripple through the community. Some residents say they lock their doors more often now, or keep a closer eye on loved ones entering relationships. Others find themselves more willing to speak up if a friend shows signs of being controlled or manipulated by a partner. The media coverage eventually wanes, replaced by newer tragedies, but the case leaves a legacy. Pueblo won't be the same again. A small scholarship is created in her name at a local college, awarded each year to a student pursuing a career in healthcare, her unfulfilled dream. The ceremony is small and heartfelt, a reminder that her life, though cut short, can still inspire others. Her parents hold these events close, comforting themselves with the knowledge that something positive continues to grow from a place of unimaginable sorrow. The case also prompts preventive measures by law enforcement. Officers receive additional training in recognizing early signs of domestic violence. The police department sets up a hotline dedicated to missing person cases, improving their response times in coordination with other agencies. While no law can fully prevent tragedies like this, the community's united front ensures future victims might receive help sooner. The legacy of her story is complex. On one hand, it's a tale of loss and injustice. On the other, It's a beacon shining on the path to greater awareness, empathy, and intervention. The world moves on, but Pueblo carries the memory like a scar, a constant reminder that evil can hide in ordinary places, and that vigilance, compassion, and understanding are crucial. In closing, the murder of Kelsie Schelling stands as a harrowing example of how trust can be betrayed and how an entire community can be rattled to its core. We've followed the narrative from her vanished footsteps in a Walmart parking lot to the courtroom drama that finally delivered a measure of justice. We've seen how one relationship can become a crucible of dark emotions, culminating in unimaginable violence. This tragedy underlines the importance of recognizing red flags, of intervening when loved ones face danger, and of striving to create a society where such horrors do not occur unchecked. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime stories, and if you have thoughts on this case, feel free to leave a comment below. Discuss what could have been done differently, whether early interventions might have saved her life, and how communities can work together to prevent such tragedies. If this story has moved you, consider also looking into similar cases that highlight the dangers of intimate partner violence and the complexities of missing person investigations. By continuing this conversation, we keep her memory alive and support a collective effort to ensure that others do not fall victim to such haunting shadows.